Hi, I'm Kim Dykstra, Director of Communications for the Town of Breckenridge. We're here for the update from the Town Council of October 14th, 2014. Just in case you'd like to learn more about what we've got going on, our minutes are actually the audio. You can actually hear them now as to how they are going in terms of if you want more information about the update that we're about ready to give you. If you want specific details, you could go online and get the minutes, and they're actually recorded. You can also find agendas of all sorts of meetings that we have here at the Town of Breckenridge, and we will be getting an update from Tim Gagan, Town Manager, for the October 14th Town Council meeting. So October 14th Town Council meeting, we had a couple of things that we're doing behind the scenes, like working on the budget, and we've got a budget retreat coming up, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But October 14, we kind of did sort of a wrap up of all of our town projects, our public projects.
Yeah, as the fall starts, we start closing stuff down, obviously be ready for the ski season in November. So most of our major projects, particularly on the road, are being wrapped up here in the next couple weeks. The median work, which is going very well, is pretty close to be able to take the cone zone down, so that'll kind of wrap up that project. Obviously, we finished all of Main Street earlier this year. Our Arts District has opened. Our skate park is now opened. Our turf field has now opened. So all those are not 100% complete, but far enough along that they can now be used. And the skate park's getting its use real quick. The other big project, obviously, is our Hare Street building. And that will continue all the way up until the hopeful opening here in about middle of December. So all that's going very well. The good news is, particularly the Main Street Park and the other projects out at the rec center came in on time, and looks like they're going to be on budget, which is always good. Our Main Street Park will continue to finishing up the rock work, and then once that's finished up, they'll wrap that one up and then do the landscaping again next year. And the median in particular, people will see basically in the spring is when the finalization of the plantings, like flowers and things like that, will occur. So it's basically the concrete work that's getting done right now. So things have been moving smoothly, and during the slow season, it's always good to get stuff wrapped up before the influx of a lot of folks.
Yes, and we're hoping for snow soon.
Yes.
The town is also looking at some amendments to their smoking ordinances, smoking rules, and I think we kind of put together a number of them for council, and they had some good discussion. And where did they end up? Right.
The hot button issue, obviously, is these new e-cigarettes, or the vapor devices. And a lot of communities are starting to take a hard look at those. We've been kind of waiting to see what a lot of other folks were doing, but the council have felt pretty strongly they're just like a cigarette, even though it's a vapor type of thing. Anybody that's experienced that in an enclosed room would say, it's a little bit like a cigarette. So in the case of the vapor, the council was supportive that ought to be included in our current smoking ban for inside of buildings. We already banned that, by the way, in town facilities right now. Then the other discussion was about revisiting our original ordinance that we put in place back, I don't know how many years ago now, which has worked very well generally, but we do get occasional complaints about smoke outside of a restaurant, for instance, or a bar where people are allowed to walk right outside and smoke. Sometimes that smoke wafts right back in to the building. And the state put in a requirement that it would be 15 feet from that entrance where you could smoke. The town did not do that. We actually put it at 0 because the restaurant community at that time thought they could control it. But we have had some feedback that maybe that's worth revisiting. So the council asked us to go back and talk to the restaurant community in particular. Smoking on decks, it was another one that came up. The people that don't like smoking obviously would prefer not to have somebody sitting right next to them smoking, even if it's outside. We again did not put any restriction on that originally, so they want to get some feedback about that. And the last one was one that would make sense. A lot of places that the town controls, we already have no smoking, but we wanted to make sure it was very clear in the ordinance that places like the turf field and the ball fields and the skate park, general town open areas, would be prohibited now to have smoking. That's becoming more and more of a trend where, particularly in your recreational, where kids are close, playgrounds, our Main Street Park as an example, all those are probably not appropriate for smoking. So they're going to take a look at that, and So it'd be interesting. We haven't, the council said let's get some more feedback. It'll be a public hearing when we finally do consider it to hear more any of the community's feedback. But it has come back on the table to revisit and take a look to see if we need to upgrade some of our current restrictions.
Exactly. Great. More to come. Kind of on the opposite end of the smoking spectrum is the Healthy Futures Initiative. And this basically was a presentation that has been going around all the different town councils and governing bodies at this point. And it came from when the Summit Prevention Alliance basically went away. The Healthy Initiatives are Healthy Futures Initiatives. It is more or less replacing that. So,
right. And this focuses on drugs. I mean, particularly marijuana. There's been a lot of concern even by the town, even though we've legalized it and have allowed it. We are very concerned of the exposure to kids, and like anybody would be, whether it's alcohol or marijuana or any other kind of drug for that matter. So we've been looking forward to an organization like Healthy Initiatives to come up with a very proactive campaign to try to get in front of those kids now, to let them know that this is not like mom and apple pie. You got to be very careful. You should avoid it. It's not safe, particularly for young kids and young minds. The addictive nature of some drugs is out there. So it's really a way of how do you communicate with that young population that's present in our community, the kids in school from daycare all the way up to teenagers and the 21 and 25-year-olds, that you got to be careful about this stuff and you need to avoid it. And the Healthy Initiative has come up with a campaign that is focused on the positive, healthy aspects of our community, and to really focus on, if you want to be healthy, then stay away from these things. So we're looking forward to it. We obviously have been collecting some taxes from the marijuana money, and we had told the voters originally that we would focus some of that money on prevention and getting people to stay away from it, particularly kids. So this is going to be a good effort, and hopefully the rest of the communities join in, and we hope that the county, the school, everybody needs to be a player, including the pot shops. I mean, it'd be great to see them step up, and I think they will. One of the things that we think is very important is to have a way to code the edibles so that kids know that don't touch it. It's kind of the old poison days where you saw the symbol on the thing that all kids were taught, stay away from that. Well, edibles are going to kind of be the same way, and we're getting good cooperation initially by some of the marijuana shops, but we really think that should be a uniform program that everybody is focused on. It's all about the kids and how do you convey a message of prevention and staying away from it. So we're looking forward to it. It'll be a 5-year program. So we'll be funding it, some part of it for the next 5 years, and we're looking forward to hopefully some positive impacts to it.
Great. And then we had Planning Commission is one of our pretty important commissions and councils and committees that we have. And the new council, two new councilors, not really had a whole lot of exposure there. So we actually only had 4 positions that came up for renewal, and all 4 people that are currently serving on it actually wanted to be considered to be reappointed, which is great. It's unusual that we're not getting more people, but I think that this is a group that's working well together. But the council went ahead and interviewed all these folks just to get to understand them.
The Plan Commission in essence works for the council. I mean, they're there as appointed members to help advise and give recommendations to the council on very important topics, the development of our community. And generally our Plan Commission is probably one of the tougher commissions. It's a lot of learning. And you have to know the code, and our code is not easy to know because it's kind of unique. But because of that, we end up with what we end up with here in the community. Well, the good news, as you say, is we have some good talent that we're willing to serve again. Eric Mamula, who's been off and on the Plan Commission for quite some time. Kate Christopher, who's a fairly new member, younger person in the community who's very active. Gretchen Dudney, who actually is retired or quasi-retired, I guess. She's back working again, but she came from a community where she was on the Plan Commission, and that's great. And then Ron Schumann, who has also been on the Plan Commission for. All great people. And as you say, the good news is they wanted to re-up. The bad news is that we didn't get any other interest, and that's disappointing to the council because they really like to see folks apply, and in many cases, they would look for an opportunity to start inserting new blood into these boards and commissions. And for some reason, our Plan Commission the last couple of times we haven't had a whole lot of interest. So the council kind of recommitted themselves to reaching out to some folks in the community to encourage them at least to apply and hopefully attend some meetings and get to know a little bit more about it. And hopefully the next go around, it's about every 2 years, we'll hopefully have some more people that show some interest.
Exactly, and we've got plenty of opportunities for people to be involved on
a lot of
other
boards and
counties
right.
and councils and commissions and boards, etc. So,
Right.
And then the last thing that the council really delved into pretty deep was the childcare. And we had done a survey, we'd actually done a ballot question, and it got defeated. And I think the council is very interested as to why. Why was that defeated?
Right.
So did a pretty extensive survey to our community, and this was the results.
Right. Now, there were actually two pieces. One was the survey, which was to help our elected officials figure out what happened, and some of there's a lot of speculation about, was it a tax, was it about childcare, was it about people not coming out to vote, a whole lot of things that occur with any ballot question. It was a fairly close ballot question, so that was one of the things. The second thing was, what program should we be looking at? I mean, one of the messages that potentially came out of that ballot was, is the childcare program doing what the majority of the community feels it ought to do? It's about affordable housing. It's about having workforce that works and lives here. And one of the things that at least this council feels, and most councils have felt very strongly about, is you also have to help them if they want to raise a family, because they're not making the kind of wages to invest in private childcare, where you want to help them have an opportunity to have their kids in a safe, quality environment before kindergarten, those type of things. So, everybody felt strongly it was about the workforce, it was about those type of things. But at the end of the day, the voters decide. And in this case, the majority of the voters turned it down. There seems to have been a fairly strong indication from the survey that a lot of it was about taxes, any tax. And in this case, we were asking for what we call a tax increase, even though technically we were doing away with another tax, but it was hard to explain, and ballot questions are very difficult. The county, for instance, was very successful in a ballot question that said no tax increase, continue a program. So it was kind of a mixed message. There is some reaction to people that just don't feel that childcare is a role of government. And those tended to be folks that were newer to the community, came from other places, and maybe weren't as sensitive to the unique dynamics that occur in a resort community. So all those things were discussed. The second part was really looking at what model should we be using, because this council at least is saying we need to have something, because otherwise we're going to lose our workforce. And that's not healthy for the business community or for the community as a whole. And those are the people that serve in the restaurants, the retail businesses, many times two incomes, but it's still not enough. So they took that information. We had a task force that recommended kind of a simplification of the current model. And obviously the child care centers themselves worry because it's hard to raise enough money to continue to operate. So at the budget retreat, the council is going to take all that information into consideration, along with all the numbers that we present to them at the budget, and make some decisions about what the short term and the long term will be related to this. And we don't know. Nobody's talked about another ballot question. There's always a chance you could do some short term funding. But long term, I think it's going to be a challenge to find funding, beyond 3 to 5 years.
Yep. Great. All right. Well, lots to talk about at the budget retreat and for 2015 and beyond.
And everybody's welcome.
Yes, exactly.
It's probably the blueprint of our community. It's probably, I always call it the most important, probably one-day session the council does in terms of trying to figure out what's the best service levels, how do you fund stuff, all those kind of good things, and make our community the way it is.
Yep. Great. Thanks, Tim.
Sure.
There you have it. A good plug for you to know that you're invited to come to our budget retreat. It's our annual budget retreat. It will be held the fourth Tuesday of this month in lieu of a town council meeting and work session. So it'll be Tuesday, October 28th. If you want more information, there's a whole day's agenda. Please look online at our townofbreckenridge.com website. We'll have the whole agenda listed there, along with a pretty full budget packet. We encourage you to look at the budget, see what's going on for 2015. 2015 and beyond, and come and listen and see what's going on. We've got a lot of important information that we're going to be talking about and some decisions that the council is going to have to make for the 2015 budget. So we encourage you to get online, find out some more information, and attend our budget retreat on October 28th. After that will be the second Tuesday of November, which is November 11th, Veterans Day. We have the Town Council work session beginning at 3 p.m. and the evening meeting with public comment beginning at 7:30 at night. Look forward to seeing you at the next Town Council meeting.